And we are ready to start. So FileMaker and Node-RED is the name of the session today. And under normal circumstances, the room would look like this. Crowded room with hot air in the middle of Berlin without any climate control. So perhaps is a good sign that it's not that way this year. The photo was taken 5 years ago. Some of you might remember. And the last year brought us some different conditions. So everything is online now. We are all used to do our presentations on Zoom. And there were some other circumstances in our lives that were not so ideal. And we have nevertheless to deal with it and find our way through it. But as in every weird situation, there's always something good to discover. And I will show you today what I discovered in these times of lockdown. And I hope that we keep the spirit alive and we everyone find his way to go on. And let's see what we have today. Before I start, let's give me a short introduction. Who's speaking? That's me. My name is Marcel. I'm from Germany. I was a computer kid in the 80s and got very early into IT. So that today I'm in this profession for more than 36 years now. I started FileMaker developing in version 3 as a tool for myself and for my clients. And later on it went more in the direction that I'm doing consulting work as an information architect, but I'm still developing. So Egbert told us to give a little bit context where I am now today talking to you. I'm in Wilperode. That's a very small village, about 200 inhabitants here in the middle of Germany. And this is an old map. It's right on the former border inside Germany between East and West Germany. And this little village is located in the restricted area where even the Eastern Germans could not go because there were heavy military here and a big fence. And so that means in this place, quite a few things did not change in the last decades. This house here is about 250 years old, and all this situation around here is quite a lot since it was 60, 70, 80 years ago. So it's a quite comfortable place to sit in lockdown. I can do my summer office a bit outside in the garden. And around our place, there are some lakes and natures with birds and animals. And we are situated right north to the Harz Mountains. Perhaps some of you know it. It's a nice area where you can go spending your vacations with mountains, lakes, forests. If you are interested to have a visit, drop me a line later. Perhaps we could arrange something. This is about 30 minutes from my home here in the mountains. This is a lake next to me. I do my morning walk or evening walk after sitting on the computer there. And it really helped me to get over the lockdown in Corona times to have these possibilities to be outside here. So I love to go hiking. And I'm an amateur photographer, as you can see in the slides. So it's a nice opportunity today. And of course, I'm a Mac guy for a really long time. And this is the setup here at my desk today, where I start the presentation for you. So welcome. And now we can start to Node-RED. So the first question is, what is Node-RED? Perhaps you have heard something about it before. I tried to get in gallery mode here to see you, and I would ask you kindly to raise your hand if you have did something with Node-RED or heard of it or have an idea of it, what it does. Okay, there are some of you, thank you. And we start with a short abstract to get an impression. Node-RED is a low-code platform that sounds familiar to us because there's another low-code platform. We'll talk in a minute. You can build flows easily in your web browser, and Node-RED integrates with IoT and cloud services very well. And that's a big aspect of it. And you can even deploy your own APIs if you need to. So we will see it in action later, but just to give you an idea what Node-RED is all about. And of course, we are in the red pill room today, so that's a nice coincidence. And I'm wearing a red shirt from Egbert 5 years ago. So why Node-RED? You might ask, because we got Claris Connect. So why do we need Node-RED? It's also a low-code platform and perhaps even better. So Node-RED, Claris Connect and Node-RED are quite developed in the same time, around 2015, I think. And Claris Connect was bought from Stemplay, was announced in 2019 from Claris, and they made some vague promises about the platform and what we could expect to do with it. It was introduced early in 2020, and I remember a session we made with some colleagues, FileMaker guys. We met end of 2019. We rented a hotel room out in nowhere to spend a weekend with Claris Connect, and had high expectations and could find out nothing, really nothing. It was not even possible to log in at the time, despite we had some Claris partner accounts, but at the time it was really too early to get into Claris Connect. Then later in the year 2020, in March, there was a Claris partner event where there was some screencasts and they showed us some tools inside Claris Connect. And finally, in the middle of 2020, it was released with a price tag, but without any suitable information. This was my impression at this time. So I think Claris somehow missed a chance there. We are long-standing FileMaker developers, and we have not been onboarded in an elegant, nice way so that we can get an idea about Claris Connect and what to do with it and make some testing or whatever. And so at that moment, I realized it is not my business for the moment. I forgot about Claris Connect, and my impression at last year was it is not ready yet for us. Perhaps for some of us who were in the ETS and got deeper insights, but I might come back to it when there is an ultimate reason, perhaps some killer application. I don't know yet that Claris Connect makes some sense for us as FileMaker developers, especially. But I'm still happy to see Claris to step into this new area, because I hope them to succeed, because the time is ready now for the low-code revolution. I used my time in between to explore low-code a bit further and to detect the potentials. And I was surprised there are some other players in this area, not only Connect. And that is where Node-RED came into play. And the story is a bit funny how Node-RED came to me, because I had no idea at all about what is Node-RED and what you can do with it. And I looked at the website and was not that had no real idea. But then in November 2020, the Raspberry 400 was announced. I found this one morning on Twitter and said, oh, that looks interesting. I know a bit about Raspberry, and I thought that could be a nice Christmas gift for my son. So you see the little Christmas tree here. That was late November, and I managed to order a device that was early enough here to gift it to my son. And my idea was it could be a kind of Trojan horse to get him into developing and programming. He's was 12 at this time, and that was the time when I started deeply in programming. So it looked interesting. And then we got this device on Christmas Day, a cheap Linux box for only 70 bucks. It is a no-brainer. It is well equipped. It's a fully PC. And what really surprised me, it was ready in 3 minutes. That is not a lie. We sit there under the Christmas tree, plugged it into a power. I had a display there, plugged it to the display. We put in the credentials for my Wi-Fi, and 3 minutes later, we got a running machine. And I'm not a Linux guy since that moment, so I thought it would be complicated, some cryptic console commands to put in, but to my surprise, there was pre-installed software with a desktop, and one of these software packages was Node-RED. So the Trojan horse finally played out as a Trojan horse for me to get into Node-RED. So I occupied the machine. My son is still lucky with his iMac, and this is what you see if you start the Raspberry. And you see this red arrow here at the bottom left, and there is this Node-RED icon. And I was a bit hesitating and said, okay, what will happen? But I said, okay, there could not go wrong anything. This is a new, fresh installed machine. And if something goes wrong, I will install it again. And so the risk was low. And as I clicked, I got this, sorry. There was a console window, and I said, oh yeah, yes, now comes the Linux part. I'm not lucky to make something with it, but then my Neugier, how you say it in English, sorry, I was curious enough to read the text and click on this link here. There was an IP address and the port 1880, what I did, and then the browser window opened and looked like this. And so I was hooked. I said, oh, that looks interesting. There are some elements there. There's a workspace. There are some controls. Perhaps I can do something with it. And so the next days I played a bit around and dragged some things, what we will do in a minute. And it did not play out that well at the moment. There was quite a learning curve, but at the next weekend I spent on YouTube and on Google and was looking for tutorials and was surprised to step into a new world. The web is full of tutorials for not only the Raspberry, but also for Node-RED. What I found there really made me excited because there was tons of projects and not projects of hardcore developers like us, but of ordinary people that did these projects to do all kinds of things. And so I investigated a bit further and found out what I can do with Node-RED and how it works. And I will explain you in a few short steps, and then we step into it and you can get your own impression. It's all about JSON. So we know JSON as FileMaker developers for quite a time now, and it sounds familiar. And in Node-RED goes a bit further. Everything is JSON. Every object, every flow, or every message is built on JSON because Node-RED is a kind of a message broker. You have objects that send messages to each other, and Node-RED is a platform who does it for you. It's built on top of Node.js. You might know this. Node.js is a kind of JavaScript server, highly parallel, runs at a standalone or some kind of service on your system. And Node-RED is built on top of it. And so the message pipeline works autonomous. If you deploy your flow, it works for you in parallel, and it's highly scalable. So nodes trigger and receive messages. Nodes is, I think Claris Connect has something similar. You put in an element, and the element sends a message. The message has a payload and some metadata. And with a payload, you can build your flows. So the messages can be built, transformed, routed. There are building blocks for basic operations. And there's a modular plugin architecture for integration. And that is a really interesting part because there are many of it, and for many different types of integrations, hardware integration, system integrations, API integrations, and all sorts of things you can think about. And finally, because this is built on Node.js, it's JavaScript. And if you are suitable with JavaScript, you can do your own logic code within the objects. And that could be a great helper for things that are not built in, but you can even live without it. So this is a Node-RED website. Here is some words what they think they are. Node-RED is a programming tool for wiring together hardware devices, APIs, and online services in new and interesting ways. That says a lot. We will see. So let's get practical. I change the presentation mode here. But first, to give you an overview, what we will do in the next about 45 minutes, we see the workspace. We build some very basic flows. We have a look at plugins and hardware integration. I will show you some devices here that are integrated with the Raspberry, with Node-RED. We look at dashboards. It's an interesting part of it. We built an own REST API in less than a minute. Believe me, it works. We connect to FileMaker, and then comes the interesting part. We talk about the basic setup, what to do to integrate this FileMaker. We pull AP data out of the web and put it into FileMaker database, and we do the other way around. We take a FileMaker database and build a REST API for it with the help of Node-RED. So some really interesting things, and we start simple. I have to switch the screen sharing. Hope it works. We're going into the browser. So now you should see the browser window here. This is dotfmp, and there we are. This is the Node-RED workspace.
Can I ask one really quick question?
Yes.
Yeah, so essentially there are kind of pre-built machine images for the Raspberry Pi that we can just download, burn to a, and then just install that way?
Yes, we will see. I've packed you a list of starting points for later on.
Okay, cool, perfect.
And there's for every OS, for every kind of hosting or on-premise solution, there are tutorials, and it's really easy. I had to reinstall the Raspberry one time when something other went wrong, and it was set up again in about 20 minutes. And I'm not a Linux guy. I just got some tutorial from the web and does it, and it worked. So
that's
here
a Docker
something.
deployment.
Yes. So we have a look at the window here. On the left side, we have some elements in color. There's this big white space here with lines in it. And at the right side, we have some kind of information palette. And here are some buttons and a hamburger menu at the top. And there's quite a lot of power in it. We will see later. There are some palettes, and there's an interesting part. But we start very simple. Here on top of it, there are some tabs. So here is where your flows live. And if you started, there's just 3 or 5 empty tabs. And I've prepared one here for today that sounds .fmp. You can double click on it, give it a name, and you can drag something into it. So we have the blocks, and as you see, the blocks are divided by some different types. We have functions, we have networking, we have input, output, some sequence, everything you can imagine, and the list is long. It's not pre-installed. I just installed some plugins, but we start here with the basic ones on top of it. You saw it, there's some help. If you put the mouse over it, you will get an idea what this element is about, and you can open tutorial on the web, or here on the right side, there's a little more text with details about it. So you can manage to find your way with it. So, but the really understanding begins if you saw someone else building a flow, because at this point I had no idea what this all means, and I clicked around and nothing happens. But as I learned early in a little tutorial, I can put in these 2 elements here. One is a trigger, and it triggers a timestamp, and the other is a payload, and it outputs a message. So there's this little pane here with a bug. This is debugging pane.
Pensavo di sentire delle cuffie.
We can wire this together, and you recognize this little blue pills here on top of it. Oh, there's someone else talking. Mute the Also channel. Anyone knows who's talking that we can stop this?
Mica, questo è un concorrente di Claris Connect.
Giancarlo, wait a moment.
Okay, yes, found him.
Yeah.
Hope to stop it now. Yes, sorry. So you see the little blue dots here on top of it, and that means the new element has not been deployed yet. It has not been compiled internally to the Node-RED service. So there's the big red deploy button here on the top right. I press it, then comes a message that the flow has been compiled, and all the blue bullets are gone. And so that means the flow is ready to fire. And I press the button here on the left, and now something happens. A timestamp was injected, and the message object has put it into the debugging window. So I can press it again and again and generate new messages. And when you click on these objects, you get an info pane with some properties. Here, there are different properties to change. We can change this from a timestamp to a string. I type in some text and say, okay, now we have the blue bullet again because we changed something. We have deployed again. It is recompiled, and I can press the trigger button, and now we have the text hello.fmp, just what I entered into this message. And even the message object has some properties. We can say what part of the message should be displayed. In this case, it is the message payload object. It's kind of default where everything goes. Every object that sends messages normally send them as payload. But there are other types of messages as well, and you can add something. You can say, okay, I have an ID. It's like JSON. You can nest it deeper and make more sophisticated type of messages if you like to. And here is the blue thing is that we routed to the debug window. We could send it to system console or anywhere else. There are some possibilities here. There are other types of objects. Here is a comment. I can type something in to make some explanations what the flow is about. And we have functions. You can rewire this, click the line, delete it, and perhaps we put in not a text, but a number. I take a number object. 42 is the sense of life, I heard. So we route this to this function. And here we have programming type of control. I can set my message payload to a new value. We multiply by 2, perhaps, this is semicolon, and return the message to the next element, deploy it again. And we would expect to do it something if I press the trigger again. So 42 was the input. We multiplied by 2, and here we have 84 as a result. So we get the idea. There are all kinds of different controls here. There are predefined elements to switch, to change something, to build some kind of buffer, to build random numbers, or whatever you like. And you can drag and connect them in any order you want. If that makes sense is another question, but it's quite easy way to make something. So we have a different payload here. We can try to deploy this and look what happens. I think we don't get the random number because it has no trigger, but I put this in front of this. So the trigger triggers the random, and the random goes to the function, and the function goes to the output, and something should happen. Let's try. Okay, we have a 10, we have an 18. So there are random numbers now in our flow. You get the basic idea. So everything we built here is a new flow. We gave it a name. We did a comment on it. We deployed it. And now perhaps you will put it on another machine so you can export the whole thing. and have different options. You can see here, even the element itself is kind of JSON object, or the whole flow. You can look into this flow in this JSON object. So you can copy it to the clipboard or download as a file, or you can make it pretty print here. And everything we defined is inside some JSON object. And so it's very simple method, very clean and straightforward. And there are further methods to make real projects. You can put it into Git repositories, and there are deployment mechanisms. But for the beginning, we just sit here and do something in our browser that runs on the Raspberry in the background. So then we have the palette menu here. And this looks promising. We see there are some things installed here already, and there's an empty pane. It really looks not that interesting, but if you look at the number here, there are over 3,300 modules online that you can deploy and insert into your workspace. So you can imagine anything you like. You look if there's something for images or for querying the weather or what else, and you get a long list of plugins. It's like MBS.
We left at this installation palette here, and what I tried to show you is the broad range of different plugin modules that are available for Node-RED. And we played around a bit with some things that are in there. You can read it on the website what this all is about and what you can do with it. And there are over 3,000 contributions. And so the chances were high enough to type in FileMaker and look at this. We got a FileMaker contribution for Node-RED. And so if you look into it, there's quite a lot. There's a table of contents because the page is so long. And there's all kinds of elements to connect Node-RED to the data IP of FileMaker server. And there's a guy, is Louis de la Pau, and he integrated this plugin. And it seems that he had a lot to do to integrate different parts of it. There's a virtual FileMaker client involved and some more magic in the back. But finally, all you have to do if you're using Node-RED is to click on the button. It will install the thing for you. I did it before, so it's here in my list. Look into our objects on the left side here. A new section that says FileMaker, and we have different types of objects we can use. There's a product info, you can log it in, and all we have to do is give it some kind of authentication to our client, and we can get into this a few minutes later, but finally, I think this is the part where it gets interesting for us as developers. Before we go into FileMaker, I have a few other examples that I will show you in advance. We have this thing with hardware integration that is really interesting. And so perhaps if we will look up the weather, sorry, it's another thing. We can send out some web requests to any web page. And then there are some nodes to parse out the data that is inside this website here. We can do it by CSS selectors, very simple, because there's inside the click on it. I don't know if information. You know this if you are doing some web stuff. Then this is the source code of the website, and there's a note here. It's peak class temperature, and there's the value we are interested in. And so there's a mechanism inside Node-RED that is an HTML parser, and you can hand it over a kind of node address, and it receives a result as text or as HTML or as a single message or multiple array of messages, different ways to deal with it, and then we can do something with it. And this time we had a good flow that puts out something in here. Trigger this, and you get a value 70.3. So we have something similar for Berlin here. We did this yesterday as a demo. I'm clicking on it, and it says 26.8 degrees in Berlin and clear sky. We even get a description. There's another mechanism to do such things. I have an open account at OpenWeatherMap that is a REST API provider. And you have to put in the key. We end this as parameters with this injection object here. We look at if there's a key for this service. We query Berlin. We put the units and the language we would like to receive, and all this is a JSON object. We would forward to this HTTP request, and then the result will be delivered as a message payload, and we can just dig into it. And as it is JSON, we take out some sub-objects of the JSON part. From the payload, we go to main and then to temp to get the temperature, and we will get a description, several descriptions. And we put an array of 0 as the first item we get, and then we put it here on the output. But we'll do another thing with it. We put it on a dashboard, and I opened this dashboard in the background here. It's part of Node-RED that you can have a dashboard component, and many of them. There's the weather. You see these nice brochures with text on it, and some values that are displayed, and this is real time coming from the API request we just sent with this opportunity. It's out to the window, show it. So the basic idea here is to show you how to communicate between different services. We start with a simple HTTP request. This kind of dashboard element here, and we can create a group that is named Harz Weather, because it is in Harz Mountains. It was the starting point for me. And we have different types of display, level output. Just try it again. And so the dashboard refreshes in the background, and so we have another kind of display type here for the Berlin weather. So very simple, a few clicks with a donut. You can find a range, put some colors on it, put in some kind of formatting, go again. And now we have a donut for the Berlin weather temperature. It's a bit different as the watches here on top. So you see, it's very easy to get the data, to manipulate the data, to deploy the data, and to display it again. And there are some other nice possibilities, because there is an iOS client for Node-RED that displays this kind of dashboards for you. I put it in front of you in another camera, and I hope the connection will not break down again. So you see this iPhone here in front of me, I hope.
I'm sorry. So what you see is I have an app here, Node-RED UI, and it connects to this kind of dashboards. And we will see that there is the same dashboard on the iPhone now as on the web browser. And if I change something, I change here the first item on the dashboard to display in a different way. We make a donut as well. I deploy it again and now have a look at the iPhone. The iPhone will need a second to get the refresh, and then the dashboard on the mobile phone will change as well. I hope I have to deploy again, so we know something should refresh. Just a second, and you see there is the new donut dashboard element. So very simple. What we saw, we could accept the output of the dashboards inside a web browser. We could even put it into a web viewer in FileMaker if we like to, or we could put it into a mobile device. So there are quite some possibilities to make something happen with it. Okay, we go back, and I promised you to show some hardware integration as well. We have you know, perhaps the U Lightning system from Philips. There is even a plugin for U system to integrate into Node-RED. When you load the plugin, you have a kind of property to find a bridge. You can type in the bridge of your the IP address of your U bridge, or you can get this pop-up menu. It does a search inside the local network and shows you all the bridges that are available. You can click on it, get an AP key to put in, and you're ready to do something with it. And the same as with this FileMaker list, we have this for you. There are many kind of elements that we can make use of, and just drag it in and make something with it. So I again switch the video here. You see this element, and I put the dashboard with some light switches, virtual light switches on my iPhone beside it. And you see that that there's some lights on right now. There's a switch on the top for the main light. There's a level. I drag it and something happens. The light goes down here. You see it perhaps on the table that there's a bit darker right now, but something else. I use a hardware from the remote here and make it more bright. And then the element on the iPhone should change as well while I'm doing something here. This is the other slider here, second one. When I use it, the iPhone changes. So this is the magic of Node-RED, that everything, all the messages are sent in the back end. We have switch it on and off to make it light again here, a bit brighter. Okay, bright enough again. What I will show you with it is that everything runs in the background. The message broker does its work. So we have a plugin here that is reading the state of the hardware, puts it to some logic. We have some switches here. The switches are also on the dashboard. This is a definition of the light dashboard, and we can define what to do. There's a true and false state, or for the brightness, there is some level we can get out of the hardware. And finally, if we did our processing here, we put it back into the hardware. The hardware retrieves some values and it reads some values. And we put the value into the light, and the light goes on or off, or in another color, or whatever we would like to do. And we have this virtual buttons here, and this virtual button sits on our dashboard. And so we can use the dashboard as well. Here's the light, and make something with it. You see perhaps in my face that it gets a bit darker and a bit lighter when I switch, because the light is here just beside me. And so we have easy possibility to manipulate IoT devices with the help of some simple dashboards and put some logic behind it. So here are basically two different lights and some dashboard elements, and we read some values and put the values back to the devices, and the device react immediately. And all the protocols and networking behind it, it's not that we have to deal with it. Node-RED does it, and the plugin translates it to the proper protocols so that something can happen. So I make it a bit shorter here that we have more time left for the FileMaker database. I have another small device here that is a motion sensor, and we will see a database in a few minutes that registers if someone goes through the motion sensor area, and then we trigger a counter in a FileMaker database. So I will have to do some setup to show you. We start our FileMaker server. So I have a virtual machine here. There is some FileMaker server on Linux. Just started. Machine is still running in suspend state. So we can go into the server console right now from here. So we see running Linux server, and there's something else. I prepared data IP connector. You look at this tab, you might know you can activate the FileMaker data API. This is activated here. And I prepared some simple files, FileMaker files. I will open one of them. So I connect to this virtual Linux host. And there is the test file. And it just opens. And I promised you there is this motion sensor and it will do something. And now you just saw that it triggered. I have to wait a second since it recognized that there is no motion anymore. We open the flow for this. I hope this is the right one, because we can't see this here. What we do is we get this motion, trigger a script in FileMaker, and the FileMaker performs a counter. So, and here the green light in the middle, this one, there is it's a state that says there was motion tracked. So I could not manage to hold it that still in my hand. I put it on the desk again. We wait some seconds until the state goes away and there's no motion anymore. The state will then change here. I hope you can see this. I make it a bit bigger. So now it's gray. And this is the element for the motion trigger. It is wireless inside my Philips Hue network. And if I put my hand before it, we will see that it will trigger. And at the same time, the FileMaker database will count one step further. So this is a quite simple application. And now I will show you what to do to set this up. We saw before that the data API is activated. And there is another prerequisite that is quite important for the plugin. We need valid SSL certificate. I don't know why. Perhaps it is a built-in security from the guy who built the plugin. He would only allow a connection to data API if SSL certificate is available, and I managed to install a very simple certificate here on the local domain. This is a fake domain. It's not outside in the web. This is fms.emmanuelmouret.de. It sits only in my local host file. I made an SSL certificate process with email, so I got this certificate requests that I could approve. And finally, I got the SSL file that I could install into my virtual Linux box here, and was ready to start within 20 minutes or so to install the virtual server, to get the certificate, and to set up the data API. So this is a part on side of the FileMaker server. And what we can do now is we need this FileMaker plugin, and there are some basic elements here to get the product info perhaps. And if you make use of one of these FileMaker elements, you need a connection to the bridge to the data API. And there are some selected here before. All you have to do is to put in your server name. This is this virtual subdomain that I just showed you. I gave it a name. I give here the name of the database that it should connect to. You recognize it's the same as here. It requires SSL. Without it, it would not be possible. And down here is a data API account and password. And this is what I have to do on the side of the FileMaker file. I go into security and make it a bit larger that you can see it. There's an own account for the data API, and there you put in the credentials for account name and password that is then entered here in this preferences pane inside Node-RED, and that's all. And now you have a connection. We can test this because we have here a product info node that gives us a payload. We try it, trigger it, and there comes something back, a JSON object that says, okay, we have a FileMaker data API engine with build version and some other information. So that was a basic operation to set up the whole process, the server in the background, the database with the right credentials, and some connecting authentication credentials here inside the Node-RED plugin. And that's all. You can do it in 5 minutes, and then you can play around with it because there are many other interesting types of elements here. I can trigger this one. It will give us a list of databases. There comes a JSON object with an array inside. There are 3 objects, and there's a name of these databases inside. That is what we have seen before here in the list of open databases on the FileMaker server. And so we have some basic operations to communicate with each other. And now the question, what can we do with it? We saw this database with the hardware integration. We had this hardware integration here before on another flow. We could copy some logic of it, put it over into the FileMaker data API flow, and wire it together. And the same is true here with the weather request we saw. We can do some basic HTTP request, get some results, and forward it to FileMaker. And let's see how it works. Here we have this trigger, script trigger for our counter. And we have this connection here to the Linux machine where the credentials are stored. We have to give it a name of a layout and the name of a script. Let's look inside. We inject this data with a JSON object. So our layout name is test data API. The script name is count and an empty parameter. Now we look into our database. We have this count. I make it a bit bigger, but you can read something. So what it basically does, it goes on this layout, test data API, sets a variable of a field that is already there, adds a number of 1 to it, writes it back to the count, and write the data and go to the original layout, and it gave a return value that we perhaps can use otherwise. So what we also needed was a name of the layout. If I go to layout mode here, there you see test data API. That is the name that we injected in this JSON object on the left side. And that's all. Name of a layout and a script name. And we could even give a parameter, but in this simple thing, we don't have. So I trigger the hardware again, and the counter is firing, and some messages are sent between Node-RED and the data API. And finally, the script inside this database is called and counts another one to this value. So that's the basic idea. We have some other possibilities here, not only to trigger scripts, but we can perform a find, or we can create records. The method is very similar. All we need is a payload with some data. We can optionally set a script to perform, and some other options. I don't really know what they do, but we look into this test sample here. We provide a value. Somewhere all these values should be created in that format that the data API would need. Okay. We have a variable that is called weather with a value of v. V is what we get from the previous part here in the payload. And then we create a variable with a value of fm and put it into the payload and forward it to our create record item. So I'm not really sure what it does. I haven't tested it in a while, but we can have a look here, or just fire the script with a test. Okay, something should be modified. I think it's the one here. Here's the table. Yes, here's our test. The idea behind this is that we have a table with timestamps and weather information, and then we can trigger Node-RED to create records with the weather information it gets from an open weather API somewhere in the web. So if I trigger this, here is the HTTP request. There comes the temperature. Temperature will be packed into our JSON object. The JSON object goes to the create record. And finally, we get this record here with a timestamp from right now. And so we have a basic mechanism to get some values out of the web and put it into a FileMaker database. And the nice thing in Node-RED is that you could automate anything. So there is not only the possibility to press a button, but you can configure it to fire automatically. Here is an interval set by 15 minutes. We could change this to 3 seconds. Okay, we have to deploy again, prove this, and we watch our table data and look if something happens. So, and the ideas are counting 160, 161, 162, and we get the weather. It's not that changing any much in the short interval, but Node-RED does this job very nicely. And so as we use the data API, we should not even have this FileMaker database open because it sits on the server, and Node-RED is talking to the server and generates some entries there for us that we could depend on later in any other workflow. So you get the idea. Change the spec to another interval every 15 minutes. Ready. So let's summarize what we have so far. We have the Node-RED environment with some building blocks. We have some kind of message pipeline and can send own JSON messages from one flow to another or from one object to another. We have a plugin that gives us a connection to the data API without any hassle. If we set up this subdomain, the SSL certificate and the account with the password, then we are ready to go and can make use of all these FileMaker objects that the guy from US created for us. And
Louis Dog.
Yes, and the interesting thing is this is not built by Node-RED, because it's a public domain contribution by Louis de la Parra. He made this plugin. It's not from FileMaker, it's not from Node-RED, It's something a guy like us has built with a lot of effort and gives it to us. And here comes the real interesting part. We have seen there are over 3,000 contributions in this open source repository, and all of this is free for us. We can look for anything imaginable. There are plugins for Microsoft Azure or whatever you need, and there are plenty of them. And for different proposals, not always as perfect as you might consider, but often good enough to make some use of it. Try some other things. Contributions for connection to Amazon Cloud or to do some AI recognition of images or whatever you need. Now comes the interesting part. It's like a big warehouse of things where you can do something with other services, and you can just look for a plugin, click a button, the plugin is installed into your Node-RED environment. You have the plugin for FileMaker, and perhaps you will do some image recognition. You send some image data out of FileMaker to another API, let Node-RED do the work, get some result, and put the result back into your FileMaker solution. And so this opens up a whole new range of possibilities. And earlier this day, we saw this presentation about Claris Connect. It is very similar, but we saw Connect has only 50 integrations so far. Here we have over 3,000. And I think Connect is a bit different because it supplies some high-level workflows. If you have a MailChimp workflow, you just put in your Flow plugin for MailChimp, and everything is predefined for you. And Node-RED is a bit more under the hood. There's a bit more groundwork to do. You get some basic elements, and you have to do some thinking, have to configure your own message types, have to do some JavaScript here and there to modify it in a way that it fits to your solution. So at this part, Claris Connect might be a bit easier. But on the other side, Node-RED has far more possibilities because there's a huge universe of community of pre-built elements, and the basic platform is very simple. If you understood it once, you can. The possibilities are sheer endless. What you can do with it. So I will look at the clock if we have some time left, because we have some two cool demo files here with FileMaker. I open it from the Linux box. There is, we make this one first. Okay, the other screen. Put this away for a moment. What it is basically a table of postcodes. I grabbed it somewhere on the web just to have some interesting data, about 12,800 postcodes of Germany here inside. And you can search for it in the FileMaker database. There's an OpenStreetMap ID, the name of the city, the postcode, and the state where the city is located. So we have a basic layout here, which is called API. Remember, we need a clear name for the layout to address the data API. And so let's look if we can do something with it. And I promised you we built a REST API in 1 minute. I just show you the basic principle behind it. API endpoint should be the right thing. So we have a get object here. It looks simple, it is simple. I have to find it. There it is. Hope it's the right one. This is FileMaker get, sorry, use this one, HTTP node. Okay, I was wrong, sorry, HTTP is the right. So we have two types of HTTP nodes here. One is an HTTP in and one is an HTTP response. And that is all we need basically. We can drag in an in and give it a name with an URL. We give it the name of .fmp. That's all. And we do some thing in between, basically a string or something, return hello. Click this here, and we have HTTP output that needs nothing because it gets the message and displays it. So I press on deploy. And what we have basically done is we have defined a URL to this server address here. I open it in another window and make it a bit larger. So what we expect it to do is we can just type in .fmp. This is the name of the request we defined after our address. Press enter and something should happen. So we got a message here, an alert. Okay, there was something wrong. Try again. Perhaps it was not a good idea to change this. I put it in the message payload. Hello world. Deploy it again. We reload the page. This is web address, and here's hello world. And so we have our own web API, our own REST API. This was under a minute, I hope so. I didn't watch at the clock, but the basic idea is you can define the type of API. If you need a get, a post, a put, or whatever, you could give it a name, deploy it on your Node-RED server, and it's ready to go. And now you could put in any payload, and the response item will return the payload to the request. So the request could be insert from URL by a FileMaker script, or it could be a web viewer or a website or whatever, another platform. Doesn't make any difference. And what we do now is we go to this sample FileMaker postcode flow, a bit larger that you can see it, what it does. We have some REST endpoints here. Get Orte is German for cities / zip code. Then we have cities / name, cities / state, and cities / OpenStreetMap ID. So we can open our browser window again, type something in, Orte, German name for city, Ort / Berlin, and look if something happens. Okay, something went wrong. Perhaps I have to look up the name again, Orte PLZ or Ort. Ah, okay, I see. It is not /Berlin. It should be the parameter with the circle. What is it called? Fragezeichen. So doesn't matter. We if this not works, we put it directly from here. Deploy again. What it does is it puts together a simple JSON object. Q is a query parameter from the payload that we get from this API endpoint. We design our own query object with the name of query, and if we enter the zip code, it's short form PLC in Germany. We do a PLC object inside the JSON with our value, put it together in our message payload, and return it to the next item here. The same here with another endpoint. And this time we don't get the PLC, we get the Ort city name. and there are similar with Bundesland and with the OpenStreetMap ID. So we have these 4 endpoints, a function that customizes it to an identical format, and then we have our perform find. And now we perform find on the FileMaker API. I have a different client here. Let's do if it does something. Then we would get a result and put it onto the output pane and on the result inside the browser. Output pane is lost. Yeah, here is button. Okay. Let's look what goes wrong here. Let's the trigger again. Oops, wrong window. Can be property of undefined. Okay, something happened, but not what we expected. Yes, okay. Now we are ready. Because Q for query was the value we got here. In you remember the JSON object, and the JSON object refers to the Q as a parameter, and we have to type in the parameter with the Q in the URL. So now we can start something. We have our table here with all these data sets for the German cities, and if we type in some postcode, it should return us a list of entries from the database. We have here this Aarbergen. I just copy this, put it into the URL as a parameter, and now we get a JSON object, Aarbergen Postleitzahl, and it matches the information we have in our FileMaker file here. And this is simple because most of the times there are only one result for this code. But what about if we put it other way around? We search for Berlin. We expect Berlin not only have one postcode. Indeed, we get a whole array of postcodes for Berlin. See the postcodes here, changes from line to line. And so we have a basic mechanism to put all our results into JSON object and return it from our data file to the browser. And so this is the other way around. First time we put something in FileMaker, the other way we get something out FileMaker. Oh, this is crazy here with the window jumping around. Sorry. And we have a look at it, how it works. There's no script at all. There might be some security settings for our data API account here. The name of the account is data API, and there is a password which is invisible here, but we have set this up inside our perform script. We have here the URL of the FileMaker server, the name of our database, it's called PLC. As you can see, we have the account name, data API, and the password. And that's all. And we could look at our query. Query is just we search for the query string here, and the output is returned back as payload. So let's look at the JSON again. The query is FileMaker data API syntax. There is a document from Claris, which describes if you send a query to FileMaker data API, what it should look like, and it should like this format, that there is a query element here, and then a JSON with the field name and the value, and you get a result of an array, and the result is safe. We pass it through. We go through, we create an empty array here, have a for next loop in JavaScript that runs from I0 to the data length and pushes the field data. This is FileMaker logic again. You get an array of field data, but we are only interested in a part of it. And so the interesting part we put into a new array, and the array is finally put into our payload, and the payload is then returned to the browser or to our console here for the debug mode. So that's quite simple, and I hope you can imagine there's a lot of possibilities in here. Can I show up something else? Perhaps there's another one to query. Okay, this one. This is basically an interface in a FileMaker file where you can enter a city, make an API call that is routed to Node-RED. Node-RED fetches some weather data and returns it as a result as a JSON object. And then the JSON object is parsed out in FileMaker files. So you can see this here. I trigger it again. Someone can tell me the city where he sits, please.
Do Hanover.
Hanover, thank you. Let's look up the weather in Hanover. We have 18 degrees only and heavy rain.
Yes.
And we even get some further information about wind. So the principle is quite the same as we saw before. We set an URL that points to our Node-RED server. We have a REST endpoint here. It's called weather API. You will find it here somewhere. Don't know exactly. And then we give it a parameter to the string ort gleich, and then the name of the ort we entered into the field, the city name. Then we basically do insert as from URL into a variable that is called result, and then we can do something with it. We put it into our result field. We pass out JSON get element temperature and the weather description, and put it into other fields, and we write record, and that's all. Call it again. And that's quite simple. The idea here is to put all these heavy logic for the weather API behind a simple call, because this is really simple. We only have to address with a token, a prepared token, and the name of a value we want to look up, and the result is put into a variable, and that's all. No authentication, no certificates, no login or whatever is needed. And the good thing is that only makes sense if we do it here in our own environment. But if something changes and we need another weather API, or the service breaks down, or there's a better or cheaper service, or what else, we can just change the definition here in our Node-RED element, and the FileMaker solution will just work the same as before, because we abstracted the API call behind Node-RED REST API endpoint that we defined for ourselves. And you can imagine all sorts of API calls. You call some information from one service, one from another. You make some logic happening here behind the scenes. And finally, when all your logic is done and you got your values that you needed, then you put the result of your request somewhere into your FileMaker solution. One way would be to create a record. The other way would be to just get an HTTP response and put it into some variable or fields with insert from URL. And that's really simple. So I will end with the demo part so far. We have time left for some questions, I hope. I will just give you a few slides to get further information later.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I speak a bit louder. My headset just crashed, but it's a live presentation. So as Egbert always says, we have some crazy stuff going on, and sometimes it goes and sometimes it went wrong. We won't read through the whole table here. I prepared some comparison between Claris Connect and Node-RED, and there's quite some similarities here. But what is interesting, there are some interesting differences also. So it basically shows some similarities and differences between Claris Connect and Node-RED. And the main difference is there's a license model for Claris Connect, whereas Node-RED is open source. But there are some technical aspects as well, because Claris Connect is only in the cloud so far. I did not remember if they announced something that they will provide on-premise option as well. But Node-RED, on the other side, is supported in all major operating systems. It runs on Raspberry for $70. It runs on a Linux machine, on Mac OS, on Unix, on Windows, you name it. So there are plenty of options, and there are also some cloud providers. You can do it on the big ones in the cloud, and there are some specialized services as well. They will charge you some license fees as well. So there's no that big difference to Claris Connect. But I think here in the bottom section, we see some even more interesting things we saw in the presentation before. As today, Claris Connect has only 56 connectors, whereas Node-RED has over 3,300 plugins available. That's not all high quality plugins. It's open source, so expect not everything well defined, but there are some really, really good ones as well. And so it's worth to dive in it. Own connectors, you can build it on Node-RED. Claris has announced something, I remember so far. And here in the bottom section is the main difference for me. I told you before, I tried to get into Claris Connect, and Claris made it so difficult for me at an early stage that I did not find any point to get into it. Whereas Node-RED came by an incident, was not intended to use it, but as I got it, it was so easy to set up something in a few days and to dive into, because of the huge community, of the huge learning resources. Type in something in Google, Node-RED, Raspberry, and you name any kind of idea or project, you will find someone who already does it. And so there's a very mature open source industry around it. The whole home automation thing is mainly based on Node-RED. There are some other players, but they are into it, and the IoT thing and web API thing as well. And you get a lot of ideas if you see what crazy things that people done with it. They automate their gardening and whatever, and their house pets, and everything is possible with some hardware integration and crazy ideas. And it's not that huge entry point here on the Node-RED side. So there are plenty of links as starting points, and I compiled something for you. You can download it later. Just to summarize it, why is Node-RED great? In my opinion, it's open source, it's quick start and no fees. You can just do some experiments before paying some fees or hosting services. It runs on any platform, so you can do it at home in a small device or in a virtual machine. There's a very huge community. It's full of docs and tutorials. We have seen this many plugins, even for FileMaker. And it's for me, it's an ideal platform to learn low code. And it does not say anything about if I use Claris Connect or other platforms later, but it's a kind of playing ground to get the ideas, to understand the concepts, and to have something to start with. And I think for this purpose alone, Node-RED is a good interesting topic to deal with, and that is the reason why I presented it here today and tomorrow. And you get further information. I compiled a text list with starting points, with links for Raspberry and tutorials, and you can even get the sample files as a download, the city example with the REST API. This is fully documented with passwords and everything you need. The JSON objects for the flows in Node-RED are included in the database in FileMaker. And anything you need is to set up your own environment, and you find the links for this in this quick start guide. And it is possible to do it. You have to invest 1 or 2 days to dig into, but it's worth it. And sneak preview for tomorrow, same time, same room, 70 Node-RED. We will look at a special project building a FileMaker server dashboard with Node-RED. We saw a bit about dashboards today and what you can do with it, and we saw this FileMaker data integration. Tomorrow you will learn something new that is not depending on the data API, but makes direct connection to the server machine. And so perhaps we see you again tomorrow, and I hope you enjoyed it, and there was a lot to learn and to carry with you. And if you want to connect with me, there are some starting points. I'm on Twitter, I have a blog, and if you like my photos, I will likely if you visit my Flickr or Instagram account. The links are inside the presentation. And I have to say thank you. I'm sorry that there were a few crashes and glitches, but I hope the essence was worth it to be here today and to, so I say thank you. It was nice to share the chance with you here to give the presentation. So we can, if you like, and there's quite some time, we can do a simple question and answer, or we can do it inside the chat or tomorrow, or whatever occasion we will find today or tomorrow to speak with each other. So thanks a lot.